Welcome to this episode of Better Life Today. I am very excited to have singer-songwriter Laura Williams and her husband Ernie with us today. You guys just had a concert here.
Yep.
Sure did.
And so thank you for taking some time out to talk with us. I'd love to hear, and I know we'd all enjoy hearing your story, so welcome to Better Life.
Thank you.
So tell me about you. You have been, evangelism is your life right now. So I'm always interested to see how God led you here. So please tell me, what's your story? When did you first know you wanted to be a singer-songwriter for the Lord?
Well, I started out when I was very young, maybe 9, 10. I wanted to be a secular singer.
Okay.
And that was my goal for a long time. And then I ended up going to a school called Fountain View Academy.
And I think most of our audience has heard of Fountain View.
Probably, yeah.
And that's up in Canada.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. And during my time there, God already knew what he was calling me to do. I had no idea at the time, but he sent me to exactly the place that I needed to be. And it was at Fountain View that I learned that it's so much more satisfying to sing music that can have an impact on someone's life for eternity.
Right.
So much more fulfilling.
And that Fountain View, that means you did lots of traveling, lots of touring.
Lots.
I've always been curious, how does that mix work? Because you're also going there for school.
Right.
But you spend so much of your time on the road. Was that difficult?
I mean, it definitely, it had its difficult points, and the school year was a little bit longer to try to make up for the times that we were on the road, and sometimes we did school on the road.
Okay.
But to me personally, it was completely worth it. That was my favorite part.
Right. And where did you grow up?
I probably mostly Montana.
Montana.
Yeah.
Okay. And how did you choose Fountain View, or was that your parents choosing it, or?
I had several friends that went there,
Okay.
and they kept telling me all about it.
So positive peer pressure.
Right.
Very good. Very good. And Ernie,
Yeah.
What's your background?
Yeah, my background is not of the church at all or of the faith at all. So I went to public schools and just lived my life. I didn't know anything about anything, really.
Right. And what was your first connection?
There's simple things that happened in my life for sure. My older brother went to like a local church. I had a great grandmother that was like very into church. She was a Catholic and that kind of stuff. So I had from a distance, I knew a little bit of things, but I didn't really understand those things and kind of thing. And it wasn't really until I met Laura that a lot of what I thought I knew, I didn't expect to know so much more than that kind of thing.
And where did you grow up?
I grew up in Southern California in San Bernardino County. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So this is curious to me. So two very different worlds.
Yes.
And yet you found yourselves together. How did that happen?
Well, that's a story right there.
Yeah, it is.
Why don't you tell a little about your background?
Yeah, so my background, without a religious background at all, I'm also an adopted child. So
Okay.
my biological mother, she struggled with methamphetamines most of her life, so substance addiction really was taking over her life. And I was the third born at the time. And so long story short, I was adopted within the family. I didn't have to go through foster care or whatnot. So I grew up knowing my mom and my other brothers and sisters and whatnot. But that heavy burden of not feeling like I belonged anywhere
Right.
just was like on my shoulders as a young 2-year-old growing up. And it started to really manifest itself when I got older, and I tried to find vices that really helped me to cope with all of that pain, all that anger and that kind of stuff. So
Sure.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so you were in a family foster care, basically.
Yeah.
You were adopted?
Yeah.
All
So
right.
it's all within the family. So
So you stayed there in California.
I've lived in California my whole life up
Right.
until I was 21, and then I moved away. So
Okay. And what brought you two together?
yeah.
So as soon as I graduated Fountain View, I started doing music full time.
So you knew right from there what you wanted to do.
Yeah,
and do.
well, before I graduated, I had some calls coming in, to come sing for an evangelistic series, and I was like, I've never done anything like that.
Right.
But as soon as I graduated, just kind of jumped right into it, and then it just never stopped. And my brother lived in Southern California, so I would purposely schedule, a little more than usual in that area so that I could go spend time with him. And it got to the point where I kind of moved there with him and was doing a lot of concerts in that area. But he owns a pizza place. And so during the week, I would go and I'd work there. I have concerts on the weekend, work at his pizza place during the week. And one day, this guy walks in, and he had, spiked red hair and a Marilyn Manson T-shirt and chains and skeleton jewelry on, everything. He came in and he saw my CDs sitting on the counter. My brother would let me sell them, and he said, "Hey, I'm going to school for audio engineering, and so if you ever need help with your music, just give me a call." And he gave me his number.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. So are you still doing that?
Yeah, I'm still doing audio engineering. I'm actually doing a lot more with the videography, and I'm a part of a lot of leadership teams and different facets of ministry for sure.
Right.
But at that time, I just moved back home. I mean, there's a real long story behind what happened to me, especially when I was telling you, like, that burden was on my shoulder. Right. It manifested in ways that I wanted to self-cope with self-harm, and it led to a lot of dark depression and suicide attempts, and I had to go through therapy, and I went through the hospital and mental institutions and stuff, and then by the time I turned 18, I actually got in an argument with my stepfamily, and I ended up being homeless for about 2.5 years. So I was just living my life again. And though my family, my stepfamily, they gave me all the love that I needed, and the moment I had like freedom, I followed right into the footsteps of my biological mother, and I went to substance addiction, that kind of thing. So for those 2.5 years, I wasted a lot of time, I squandered a lot of my life there. But I ended up, there's really a long story in it, but I met a guy that wanted to pray for me at a gas station where I worked, and it was like really impactful, and he handed me a Bible, and I started to ask God a lot of questions, and I had this really intimate moment with him, and I thought it was very powerful, but then I walked away, and I didn't really think about God again until I lost my job, and I had to move back home. And one of the conditions to move back home was, well, you need to get a job or go to college, So I did both, and I picked audio engineering because it was at least something I was interested in.
Right.
But I was aimlessly just going through my life. I wasn't really making any definitive decisions.
So what made you make a decision? What was the impetus for that? How did you get out of that cycle?
Yeah, it's a lot of things for sure. But it was the way that God was leading, and like the guy I met at the gas station, that was real impactful to me, because I can see in his life there was something very different. And like some people that maybe know what it's like to live on the streets or to have that kind of lifestyle, a character, like when you see one, what I mean? Because we've seen the worst of it, as people down and out and kind of thing. But in this guy's eyes, there was happiness, there was hope, there was fulfillment. And apparently it came from God. And by the time I met Laura, it was the same character. And I know that today as the reflection of Christ, but then as a worldly person, it was just so vastly different, and I wanted to know more. So there's, between circumstances and some other beautiful things that the Lord has done with memory, he would give me Bible verses and stuff that was really powerful. But she ended up taking me to an event where there was a pastor that was preaching just the Bible and like about the Old Testament and sanctuary, and there was just so many other things, and like all the stuff that I've just assumed, about Christianity and what the Bible says or what God says, and then it's just being revealed to me, and it was just so simple and it was so beautiful, and I wanted to know more. So that's when the clincher it was during those meetings, and like I wanted to know more. And then Laura, I had to meet her parents and stuff, so she put me through like a 10-day detox, because I was still smoking and drinking and this and that, so I needed to get cleaned up. And it was like that 10 days of not eating and then cleaning out my system and feeling terrible and, and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, 5 days in, I think I crawled next to the edge of the bed, and I started to talk to God like I did when I many times before, but this time I was all in, and I couldn't just, like, as I looked back on my life, there was no way I could say like God wasn't there. Right. Every step of the way, every time I looked around, I was just like, I was homeless, but I always had a roof over my head. I always had food in my stomach. I was adopted because the situation was terrible. What my life would have been if I would have stayed with my biological mom.
Right.
And it was just like everything that was hurting me, I was realizing the Lord was providing a way out and trying to help me, but I was refusing to give in or refusing to trust him. So yeah, so that's how I met Laura at the pizzeria.
Very nice, and he didn't stop.
No.
He kept working with you, kept meeting you. That's one of the things, that's one of my, there's countless reasons I'm so grateful to God.
Yes.
But the fact that he's always ready for the next plan. You know,
Right.
if we say, no, I'm not going to do it, it's an, okay, well, that would have been easier, but now we're going to do this.
Right.
And he
Right.
continues that walk with us.
Yeah.
So why? Part of this is for me, because I look back at my life and the decisions I made, and my wife chose me and walked with me through some dark times. Why? What was it that drew you to him?
Well, I want to bring it full circle so you can see like just how perfect God's timing is.
Yes.
Because, and part of that is my brother also. My brother was not raised a Christian at all either. He's my half brother. And so I prayed for him for 10 years. Every single day. I would set aside a time every single day, and I was praying for him. And it was like my dream was to see him give his life to God. And I got to see that completely answered. I saw his whole conversion.
Wow.
I got to witness the whole thing, be a part of it. And 1 week after, and I'm thinking like, wow, like God answered my prayer. This is amazing. But he had so much more planned, because 1 week after my brother gave his life to God, Ernie shows up. He gets to see this transition that's happening, and you know, my brother was in a similar place as he was, and so he comes just on time to see that. And I had been also at the time, I was doing ministry by myself for 6 years, traveling by myself, making my own CDs, doing all these things, and I had no experience on making CDs or any of that, so they weren't so good. I don't like to listen to those anymore. But I was praying for probably about a year and a half before Ernie showed up. I started praying for my future husband. I started praying that God would send somebody that I could have as a partner in ministry. Somebody that would have the skills to take it further than I could by myself, and who would like the lifestyle of traveling full time and,
Right.
and doing music and media and all that. And I started writing a book to my future husband, and I made a list of everything I looked for. And Ernie showed up, and I mean, there was an instant connection. Like we were like almost inseparable right from the start. We just really got along. But, you know, he wasn't a Christian or anything, so I knew I can't go down that route. And so I had a talk with him, and I said, you know, I love being friends with you. We obviously get along really well and everything, but you need to know that it's not going to go past that. Just friends, that's
Right.
it. Obviously, you know how that worked out for us.
Yeah.
But it ended up, as his conversion happened and his life changed and everything, God worked it out to where I saw my brother's wife, and my future husband, though I didn't know it at the time, they were all baptized together the same day. And I got to be rebaptized with them. So all of us together. And then God gave me somebody who is an audio engineer. He's since become a videographer, a photographer, so he records and masters and produces all my CDs. He does all my music videos, and he loves traveling with me. Now he's part of the concert with me. It was exactly what I had been praying for.
It's always amazing to me how God leads us through, and I can't wait to hear how he's leading you now. Folks, we're going to take a break, and we'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Better Life Broadcasting is a viewer-supported Christian media ministry that offers streaming programming via apps on various devices. Please visit blbn.org to support Better Life or to get more information. And don't forget to like and subscribe.
Welcome back. I am joined by Laura and Ernie Williams, and we have heard about how God brought you together, and I just wanted to talk a little bit about where you are now. And you are now both full-time music ministry.
Yeah.
What is that like? I mean, it sounds like it's a match literally made in heaven.
It is.
But
I think so.
Is it grueling? What does a day in the life of the Williams look like?
That's fair.
It definitely has its grueling days for sure. Right now, as we do this interview, we're doing a 10-month tour. So we're on the road 10 months straight. We're about halfway through right now.
Wow.
Last month we had 16 concerts back to back, no breaks. And that was pretty tiring.
It was intense. Yeah.
But I mean, when you hear and read like the testimonies that come in and the things that people say that the music or the message had an impact on them, it is always worth it, no matter how tired you might feel at the time.
Right. So what does a concert look like? Is it just music? Do you have a message? What does your program look like?
Yeah.
Right now, the theme is the gift of redeeming love. So it's all about Calvary, but we also incorporate our testimonies into it because, Calvary is all about what God has done for the world, and then we want to share what He's done for us personally,
Right.
and then bring that around to, what He's doing for the audience and how they're going to respond to that.
Yeah.
Right. And so that must be exactly what it is that gets you through each day then. Because 10 months on the road, I'm gone for a week or two and I'm ready to go home. I'm tired.
Right.
So you're based out of Spokane.
Yeah,
Yeah.
close to Spokane.
Spokane, okay. And where has your tour been on this 10-month journey of yours?
On this journey, I mean, where did we start? We started in Minneapolis,
Minnesota.
and then we've been everywhere. We've been to Michigan. We went all the way up to Maine, and then all the way down to Florida.
Everything in between Maine and back down.
Yeah, all in like 3 weeks.
Yeah, basically everything between Minnesota to Maine to Florida.
And we'll come
then over
around
here.
Arkansas to Texas to, I'm sure, Southern California potentially, and then back up to Washington.
And then you also have your ministry that's it's this, but you also do other things. Tell me about its New Creation Media. Tell me about your ministry.
Yeah, so when I came into the faith, I realized that my generation, we consume content. Like we're bombarded by television screens and TVs and our cell phone and everything. And I realized why the mission field now is a digital age. And I think most of us understand that now because of COVID, and we're all forced into homes and the Zoom calls and all that kind of stuff, you know what I mean? But 5 years ago, it was like, we can do more, and we are traveling. We had such a peculiar life of traveling and meeting so many amazing people. I mean, I picked up a camera just to film videos for my family. And then it became like, well, I need to film videos because other people can see what's happening in our lives and how God is leading. And I bet you it would encourage them. So it stemmed from that, and I taught myself as much as possible how to do professional video work, and every step of the way I've had really nice mentors we've met, and it's just turned into this thing where it's like everything you can, as people, if we're made in God's image, He created us. He's given us the ability to be creators too, and not consumers of the things of the world, So let's create something, let's create new types of media that will be glorifying to Him, and evangelistic in nature. So that's what I've dedicated my time to do.
Right. And you have the blessing of being able to do that while you are on tour as well.
Yes, yeah, constant work with Laura, constant music that I can mix and record and do music videos, and never runs out.
Right. As we were visiting beforehand, you talked about some challenges you've had in that. There was a time when you were losing your voice?
Yes. Well, I think this is just God's way of teaching me to always rely on Him, and to know that, the ability to sing, any of that, it doesn't come from me. It all comes from Him. So He did teach me through an experience. It was when I was at Fountain View, though. And I, again, had no idea what God had in store, but this was lessons that I had to learn before. And so every year at Fountain View, we have what's called the Cali Tour, which is a Christmas tour up and down the West Coast. And I was given 2 solos finally in my junior year for the concert. And so I was extremely excited because I'd waited, 2 years for this chance. And so I practiced, and I was feeling really good, really confident about it. And the first night of the concert comes, and I'm sitting there ready to go. And all of a sudden my voice just completely disappears. I couldn't sing, couldn't talk, nothing. And I completely panicked. But I found myself on the stage, and the orchestra starts playing the song, and I'm so thankful that the thought came, pray. I have to pray right now. And so I was like, Lord, just please give me my voice back. I don't know what's happening right now, but just help me to be able to sing. And as soon as I opened my mouth, everything was fine. It came back, and it was okay. And so after that first concert, I said, well, that was strange, but it's not going to happen again.
Right.
So the next night rolls around, And again, I'm sitting there, I'm feeling good, feeling confident, which was probably the problem in the first place. And my voice disappears again. Same thing happens. I prayed again. My voice came back. This happened every single night for the next 2.5 weeks of that tour.
Really?
Every night I would lose my voice before, and I'd have to pray to get it back. And every night it started becoming clear to me God was trying to teach me something. And through that experience and many others since that I don't even have time to go into, he taught me that I have to lose all self-confidence that I have, because it's nothing I can do. I can never go up front and sing about him and talk about him without realizing that it all comes from him.
Right.
And that all the glory goes to him. And he taught me that, and I have learned ever since, because I've had many times while traveling that I legitimately have lost my voice due to being sick or bad cough or anything like that. But I've learned that I can trust him either way, and he's always there. And if I am trusting him and I am realizing that it all comes from him, he's always come through for me. Even if I couldn't sing or talk outside of a concert, he would give me my voice back for that concert.
Right. What did you, in that moment, that first time it happened, and I picture myself in a situation like that, and there would be somebody pushing me to get up on the stage.
Yeah.
Where did that come from, to actually get up on the stage feeling that, knowing that there was nothing coming?
Oh man, well, I mean, I wasn't given much of a choice. There wasn't anyone, there were no backups for the song. And so, our choir director, he was like, you got to get up there, And so, I mean, I basically walked onto the stage, and there were no choices in it. And I mean, I just, a feeling of panic, you're nauseated and shaking, and yeah.
God is so good. What a testimony, I think, and what a lesson. Because I think of now, we have dogs, and I told you a little bit about our dogs. And Friday night, we had a little barn fire. It was a beautiful night, so we had some marshmallows out, and we had the dogs with us. But then all of a sudden, they were gone. And I look back at that, they were back in an hour or so, all tired. They were out in the hills a little bit. I look back at that, and I'm like, why wasn't my first reaction to that to just pray?
Right.
And so to be given a lesson like that, where in everything we do, we can have confidence, and he wants us to include him in the big things and the little things. So what a message to be able to share with others.
Yeah.
Right.
To do that.
Do I have time to tell you just
Please.
a little? I actually experienced this again fairly recently, because we did those 16 concerts back to back. So I lost my voice after that, but I still had concerts. And we had a concert on Christmas Day and New Year's Day, and I didn't have a voice at all. But we are kind of doing two concerts at the same time. The other concert we're doing is one called He Brings Peace.
Okay.
And we talk a lot about how God brings peace even in the worst of times, and the verse about that he will keep you in perfect peace. And that got put to the test again, because I got up in front of those churches knowing there was no voice whatsoever. But I did have peace about it completely, because I knew it's either God's going to get me through or he's not. And either way, it's going to be his purpose and for his glory. And so it is so neat to be able in those moments to realize, he really does give you peace, even when you should be absolutely terrified.
Right. What a blessing. I remember talking about John Wesley on the ship, when everybody's sick and terrified, they think they're not going to make it, and he looks over at this group, and he believes in Christ and everything, but he's feeling intense panic, and he sees this group over here that is at peace, and it transformed his life and set him up for what he was able to do later. So praise God for the peace that he gives us in those moments.
Right.
I wanted to ask you, in your ministry, when you made the shift to decide to give that to God, what was that like? Was that a hard transition?
I wouldn't say it was a hard transition. It was scary to not know what happens next, because when you think you're in control of your whole life, and you're fending, you're just surviving, and you're doing everything just for survival. all of a sudden I had a reason to live and to live fully, you know, and I had purpose because God had given that to me, given me the drive to want to know that life is more than just existing. It's blessing others. It's giving honor and glory to Him. And so it wasn't hard, but it was a little intimidating because I didn't know how to live any other life.
Right.
But day by day, and it was much easier. It's much easier to walk with Him than to spend a day without Him. I'll put it that way.
Amen. Well, thank you guys so much for sharing your testimony. We only have about a minute left. Is there anything else you'd like to share as we wrap up?
Well, I hope that the message that has been received from our testimonies, what we've shared, is that you can trust God no matter what. God has a purpose for your life that is so much better than anything that you could come up with for yourself. And He has that plan, and all we got to do is just trust Him and follow Him, so we can experience that. And He can bring peace. He does bring peace when we trust Him, even if we're going through the hardest trials, tragedies, all the things. The world is so full of fear right now.
Yeah.
But God brings peace through all that, and the key is to trust.
Amen. We are going to put your contact information up on the screen because I want to encourage you to go find them. Find the ministry, New Creation Media. Do you have another name that how would they find you?
Yeah. So I have laurawilliamsmusic.com.
Okay.
And then there's newcreation.media.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again so much. It is always a blessing to be able to hear how God brings us toward Him and how He can use us, whatever our skill set. He can open a door to give us just an amazing fulfillment in His service and to His glory. So thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time on Better Life Today. Goodbye.